What are you doing with my child? Stay back! Henry Upton pulled his daughter away from the homeless girl, his voice sharp. I'm calling security. The teenager stumbled backward. Her cardboard shelter collapsed. Flashcards scattered. A notebook tumbled open. Dad, stop! Emma cried, tears streaming. He ignored her until he saw the notebook. His daughter's handwriting. Math problems his expensive tutor said Emma would never solve. Emma was on the autism spectrum. Information didn't click for her the way it did for other children. 3 specialists had failed, but here were pages of correct equations, complex fractions, algebraic concepts, all solved. The homeless girl stood slowly, maybe 14. Her voice shook but stayed clear. I'm sorry, sir. Your daughter was struggling with homework. I showed her a different way, drawing pictures instead of just numbers. She understood. Henry froze. Who was this child? 1 week earlier, Henry Upton ruled his corner office at Upton Tech, 42 floors up in downtown Chicago. Merger papers screamed $20 billion. But his phone? 5th buzz from Emma's shrink at that fancy Loop clinic. He hit ignore. Kid stuff could wait. Emma was 9, autism spectrum, high functioning. Smart as hell, but numbers turned her brain inside out. 3 years of specialists, therapists, and tutors who charged more per hour than most people made in a day. Nothing worked. She'd sit at the dining table, tears pouring, begging him to make the numbers stop moving. He tried helping once, made it worse, so he threw money at the problem instead. That's what money was for, right? That morning, Emma sat silent in the back of his Bentley, staring out the window like she was a million miles away. She'd stopped talking to him 3 months ago, not out of anger, out of giving up. She knew he was too busy to listen. The driver pulled into a Starbucks. Henry needed his fix before drop-off. Emma unbuckled. The driver was inside maybe 2 minutes. When he came back, Emma was gone. Henry's phone exploded at 9:15. His daughter had vanished between the coffee shop and her school 6 blocks away. Security footage showed her walking, just walking. Down streets she shouldn't know. Toward a part of town her GPS tracker showed she'd been visiting every morning for a week, the highway overpass. Henry ditched the merger meeting. His assistant nearly had a stroke. He didn't care. $20 billion could wait. He drove fast, following the GPS dots on his phone. The tracker led him under Interstate 94. Concrete pillars rose like prison bars. Trash piled in corners, the air stank of exhaust and piss. That's when he saw them. Emma sat on cardboard next to a teenage girl in ripped jeans and a stained jacket. Between them lay flashcards made from cereal boxes. The homeless girl held up a card with a fraction drawn in Sharpie. Emma studied it. Then she smiled. Actually smiled, and wrote an answer in a beat-up notebook. Henry hadn't seen his daughter smile in 6 months. He watched from behind a pillar. The girl had a teaching method unlike anything he'd seen. She drew pictures. She told stories. She made math visual, real. Emma followed every word. She answered questions. She laughed when she got things right. Then Emma did something that stopped Henry cold. She opened her lunchbox, the fancy bento thing their private chef packed every morning. She tried to give it to the homeless girl. The girl refused. Emma pushed it toward her. The girl shook her head again. Finally, she took half a sandwich. Her hands trembled as she ate. That's when Henry's fear kicked into rage. What kind of sick predator targets disabled kids? What kind of monster befriends an autistic girl to steal her food? He'd seen enough true crime shows. This was textbook grooming. He stormed forward, and he did what any father would do. He attacked. Now, standing over the girl he'd just slammed against concrete, Henry felt his certainty crumble. The notebook lay open at his feet, page after page of Emma's homework, not just completed, understood. The explanations showed teaching that was patient, creative, brilliant. The girl was still on the ground. She didn't run. She just looked at him with eyes that had seen too much. How long have you been teaching my daughter? His voice came out rough. A week, sir. She was lost. I helped her find the main road. She came back the next day. Asked me to help with math. I said yes. I'm sorry. I should have told someone, but I was afraid they'd take me away. Afraid of what? That I'd lose the only friend I've had in 2 years. Emma was sobbing now. Dad, please don't hurt her. She's the only one who makes me feel smart. Something cracked inside Henry's chest. He'd spent a fortune on experts. None of them had made his daughter feel smart. This homeless kid had done it in a week. He helped the girl stand. She flinched at his touch. "What's your name?" "Ella Davis." "Where are your parents?" "Dead. 2 years ago." "You've been on the street since you were 12? She nodded. On her wrist was a silver bracelet, old, tarnished, but the symbol etched into it looked scientific, mathematical. He'd seen that symbol somewhere before, but he couldn't place where. He pulled out his wallet, tried to hand her 500 cash. She stepped back. "I don't want your money, Mr. Upton." "Then what do you want?" She looked at Emma, then back at him. "Permission to keep teaching her, if you trust me." Henry should have said no. Every parenting book, every crime podcast, every instinct screamed danger, but he looked at his daughter's face, at the hope burning there, at the first real joy he'd seen in months. "Come to my office tomorrow. We'll talk." That night, Henry sat in his study. He'd made calls. Quiet calls to people who knew how to dig. What they told him made 0 sense. Ella Davis had been a straight-A student, won a state science competition at 11. Her parents died in a car crash when she was 12. After that, she vanished from every system. No foster care records, no school enrollment, nothing. It was like someone had erased her. His computer chimed. New email, no subject line, no sender name, just one sentence and GPS coordinates. "We know what you saw today." The coordinates matched the bridge exactly. Henry stared at the screen, his chest tight. Then he heard it. A low hum coming from the air vents, not the usual HVAC drone, something else, something deliberate, like breathing, like someone was in the walls, listening. He stood slowly, looking around his study. The curtains were closed, the door was locked, but the hum continued. Quiet, patient, waiting. Someone was watching. Someone had been watching all along, and they wanted him to know it. Henry didn't sleep that night. He sat in the dark, staring at that email. Someone had watched him at the bridge. Someone knew about Ella. Someone had cameras good enough to track his every move. And that hum from the vents? It stopped the second he stood up, like whoever was listening knew he'd noticed. At dawn, he made a call. Neil Foster ran security for people who needed problems to disappear. The kind of guy who didn't ask questions and didn't leave trails. Foster was in Henry's study by 6:30, tablet in hand, face grim as hell. "The girl's a ghost, boss. Found school records up to age 12, straight A's, perfect attendance. Then her parents aided in a car wreck on Highway 35. After that, nothing. No death certificate for her. No foster placement, no welfare checks. She just stopped existing. People don't just vanish. They do if someone powerful wants them gone." Foster swiped through photos. Found one more thing. Her parents worked for Helix Systems. Defense contractor. Classified projects. Quantum encryption stuff. The accident report said mechanical failure. But the car was 6 months old. Brand new brakes. Henry's blood went cold. "You think someone killed them? I think it stinks. And I think you should bail on this kid. Whoever's interested in her has juice that matches yours. Maybe more." But Henry couldn't bail. Not after seeing what Ella did for Emma. He went to the bridge every morning. Parked a block away, watched through binoculars. Emma showed up at 7:30 before school. Sat with Ella for 40 minutes. They worked through math problems. They laughed. Emma was becoming someone new, confident, alive, happy. Ella taught with patience that seemed impossible for a 14-year-old street kid. She never got frustrated. Never made Emma feel stupid. When Emma struggled, Ella found another way. Drew diagrams in chalk. Used trash as props. A bottle cap became fractions. A stick became equations. But it was the content that freaked Henry out. One morning, he watched Ella teach Emma about probability using patterns he didn't recognize. They looked like code. When Emma asked what they meant, Ella hesitated, said something about games. But Henry knew code when he saw it. That was encryption theory, advanced stuff, NSA-level stuff. What kind of homeless kid knew quantum cryptography? He started approaching them more openly. Brought food, brought bottled water, brought a blanket. Ella took these things reluctantly, always said thank you. But her eyes stayed wary. She watched him like prey watches a predator, always mapping exits. One morning, he asked straight up, "Where'd you learn to teach like this?" "My parents. They homeschooled me sometimes, said traditional methods don't work for everyone." "What'd your parents do?" Her face went blank. "They were engineers." "What kind?" "I don't remember. I was young. Total lie. But Henry didn't push. Not yet. Emma's grades went through the roof. Her teachers called it a miracle. The specialist who'd worked with her for 2 years was completely baffled. Emma could suddenly solve problems that had been impossible weeks ago. The school wanted to know what changed. Henry told them he'd found a new tutor. Didn't mention the tutor was homeless and 14. But Emma started acting weird, deleting texts, clearing her browser history. When Henry asked about her lessons with Ella, she gave one-word answers. One afternoon, he caught her on the phone with a friend. No, don't tell anyone about the bridge. If adults find out, they'll take her away. They always take people away. The fear in his daughter's voice shook him hard. Who taught her to be scared of help? Then came message number 2. Henry was in his office when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Simple text. Stop digging. No explanation, no threat. Just those 2 words. He called Foster immediately. Can you trace this? Foster tried. The number was a ghost. Routed through 6 countries, professional-grade masking. Whoever sent this has government-level resources, boss. This ain't a game you want to play. But Henry was already in the game. He just didn't know the rules. He hired a tech guy to check security footage near the bridge. What they found made his chest tight. 3 different cameras, all aimed at the underpass, all recently installed, all sending data to an encrypted server. Someone was watching Ella 24/7. And they were watching him, too. That night, Emma pushed her food around at dinner. Wouldn't talk. Finally, Henry put down his fork. Emma, I need straight talk. Has anyone else come to the bridge? Anyone besides Ella? Emma's fork hit her plate hard. No. You sure? Yes, Dad. Why? Because I think someone's watching Ella, and I think they might be watching you, too. Emma's face went white. What do we do? I don't know yet. But promise me something. If anyone approaches you, anyone at all, you tell me right away. Doesn't matter who they are. Deal? She nodded. But Henry saw the fear in her eyes. Same fear he felt. 3 days later, an envelope hit his desk. No return address, no postage, hand-delivered. Inside were photos. Henry in his car at the bridge. Emma and Ella doing homework. Ella alone at night, sleeping against concrete. Every image was time-stamped. Every angle was impossible. Some were from above, like drone shots. Others were close up, taken from 10 feet away. But nobody had noticed anyone watching. The last photo made his hands shake. It showed him at his desk in his private study. Through the window. The curtains had been closed that night. Someone had cameras inside his house. At the bottom of the stack was a business card. Thick paper. Fancy embossed letters. The Archimedes Foundation. Below that, a phone number. And 3 words. We should talk. Henry stared at the card. Then he heard it again, that low hum from the vents, not HVAC, something else, something watching, something waiting. He looked up at the ceiling, at the walls, at the shadows in the corners. They were already inside. Henry didn't call the number. He wasn't a man who responded to threats. Instead, he waited. Whoever these people were, they'd shown their hand. They wanted him to know they were watching. That meant they wanted something from him. They came 3 days later. His assistant buzzed at 2 p.m. Mr. Upton, 3 men here to see you. No appointment. They say it's about a private matter. Tell them to leave. Sir, they say it concerns Ella Davis. Henry's jaw locked. Send them in. The 3 men moved like pros. First guy was 50s, silver hair, suit that cost more than a Honda, smiled like a politician at a fundraiser. Second guy was 40-ish, built like he lived at the gym, said nothing. Third was old as dirt, thin as paper, eyes that saw everything. He sat in the corner and watched. Silver hair extended his hand. Mr. Upton, thanks for seeing us. I'm Dr. Paul Stevens. I represent the Archimedes Foundation. Henry didn't shake. You've been spying on me, on my daughter. I should have security toss you out. Stevens lowered his hand without blinking. We understand your anger. But hear us out. What we have to say benefits everyone, especially Ella. How do you know about Ella? We've known about Ella Davis for 18 months. We've been monitoring her, protecting her, actually. Her situation is way more complicated than you realize. Henry leaned back. Explain. Stevens opened a leather folder, placed a photo on the desk. Young girl at a science fair holding a trophy, age 12. It was Ella. Ella Davis won the state math competition 3 years ago. Her project involved quantum probability theory. Stuff most grad students can't touch. Her parents were engineers at Helix Systems, defense contractor, classified encryption work. I know this already. Then you know her parents died in an accident 2 years ago. What you don't know is what happened before. 3 weeks prior, they were approached by foreign intelligence, offered serious money. They refused, reported the contact. The accident happened before any investigation started. Henry felt ice spreading through his chest. You're saying they were murdered? We're saying the circumstances were suspicious. After their deaths, Ella vanished. Smart kid. Knew enough to stay off the grid, but she couldn't hide forever. Not from us, and not from others who want what she knows. What does she know? Stephen smiled like a used car salesman. Henry's gut twisted like a bad burrito from Giordano's. Her parents shared their work with her, homeschooled her in advanced math and cryptography. Ella has knowledge that makes her extremely valuable, dangerously valuable. Organizations would kill to get what's in her head. We want to protect her. By spying on her, by spying on my family, by ensuring she stays alive long enough to fulfill her potential. Stevens pulled another document. The Archimedes Foundation has existed 70 years. We find exceptional minds in exceptional circumstances. We provide scholarships, housing, resources, protection. Ella's one of 12 candidates worldwide this year. Your daughter's connection was lucky timing. We would have approached eventually. Henry studied the document. Contract. Pages of dense text. What exactly are you offering? 500 grand per year in educational support, housing at a secure facility, best teachers and research equipment in the world, full medical care, protection from those who'd exploit her gifts. In exchange for what? Stevens hesitated. First time he looked uncertain. Ella would contribute to special projects, research that benefits national security. Nothing dangerous, nothing unethical. Just applying her unique skills to problems that matter. Special projects. Henry's voice went flat. You want to weaponize a 14-year-old girl? We want to give her a future. Right now, she's sleeping under a bridge. She's malnourished. She's vulnerable. Without us, she'll either get recruited by hostile actors or die on the street. We're offering safety, education, purpose, and control. Stevens' smile never cracked. Structure, guidance, same things any kid needs. Mr. Upton, you're a father. You get the responsibility of protecting a gifted child. Ella has no parents, no guardians, no one to fight for her. We can be those things, or she can stay as she is, one bad night away from tragedy. The silent gym rat finally spoke, voice like gravel. We know about Emma's autism. We know about her struggles. We know Ella helped her more in 2 weeks than specialists did in 3 years. If Ella joins our program, she could keep teaching your daughter. Under proper supervision, everyone wins. Henry felt rage rising. You're using my kid as bait. We're offering a solution that helps everyone. Stevens closed the folder. Take time to think, but don't take too long. Others are watching Ella too, and they won't make offers. They'll just take her. One night she vanishes. You never see her again. Is that a threat? It's reality. We're not your enemies. We're the only thing between Ella and people who'd use her till she broke. We're offering protection, partnership, a chance to thrive instead of just survive. Henry stood. Get out. Stevens rose smooth as silk, placed a card on the desk. Call when you're ready. Or better yet, talk to Ella. Ask her what she wants. Ask her what she's running from. Ask her why she's been homeless for 2 years instead of getting help. The answers might surprise you. The 3 men left. The old guy glanced back once. His eyes held something. Pity, maybe, or warning. Henry sat alone for an hour. His mind raced. Then he decided. He needed to hear Ella's side. He needed to understand what these people really wanted. He needed to know if the threat was real. He drove to the bridge that evening. Sun was setting, painting concrete orange and red. Ella sat on her cardboard reading a book from a dumpster. She looked up when she heard his footsteps. Her face was calm, like she'd been expecting him. Mr. Upton, she said quietly. Stevens's voice echoed in his head. The old man's card was still in his pocket. He pulled it out. On the back, handwritten in neat script, was a message he hadn't seen before. Talk to Ella. She knows more than you think, and she's waiting for you under that bridge tonight. Henry looked at the girl, at her ancient eyes, at the secrets she carried. We need to talk, he said, about everything. Henry sat on the curb beside Ella's cardboard shelter. The concrete was cold beneath him. His $1,000 suit would be ruined. He did not care. "How did you know they would come to me?" he asked. Ella closed her book. "Because that's what they do. They find someone you care about, someone with power. Then they make that person do their work. You've dealt with them before." A truck rumbled overhead. "When I was 12, men came to my house. They told my parents I was special, that I could help my country. They offered money and protection. What did your parents say?" "My father threw them out, said I was a child, not a weapon. They came back twice more. 3 weeks after the third visit, my parents' car went off the road. Brake failure. But my father had serviced the brakes 2 days before." Henry felt sick. "You think they killed your parents?" "I know they did. I was supposed to be in the car. I stayed home sick. If I had gone, I'd be dead too. Or maybe they wanted me alive and my parents gone." "Why didn't you go to the police?" Ella looked at him with ancient eyes. "The detective came to the funeral, pulled me aside, told me to forget what happened, go into foster care, be normal. Then he showed me pictures on his phone, me at school, at the library, at my friend's house. He said people were watching, that being invisible was the only way to stay safe. So you ran. I disappeared that night, took nothing but clothes and this bracelet. I learned how to stay off cameras, how to survive without leaving a trail. For 2 years I've been a ghost, until your daughter found me, the Archimedes Foundation. They're one of 3 groups watching me. There's another, foreign intelligence, I think. Same car, different drivers, government plates. And a third, private contractors who want to sell what I know." Henry felt the weight crushing down. "What do you know that makes you this valuable?" Ella pulled the silver bracelet from her wrist and handed it to him. Up close, the symbol was not decorative. It was a mathematical formula. "My parents worked on quantum encryption, the kind that makes current security obsolete. They were close to a breakthrough but couldn't solve the final equation. So they taught it to me, everything. They said if anything happened, I was the only one who could finish their work." "And did you finish it?" She looked away. "I solved it when I was 13. Sleeping under bridges gives you time to think. I worked it out over 6 months, in my head. I've never written it down. If I do, someone will steal it, or kill me for it." Henry stared at the bracelet. "The Foundation knows you solved it. They suspect. They've been testing me, leaving problems near places I sleep. Equations on walls. I ignore them. But they know I see them. They're waiting for me to slip." Henry handed the bracelet back. "What do you want, Ella? If you could choose your future?" She smiled sadly. "I want to go to school. Learn things that aren't dangerous. Teach kids like Emma who think they're broken but just need someone who understands. I want to be normal. But normal stopped being an option the day my parents died." Henry stood. His mind raced through options. "I need to make some calls. Can you stay safe tonight?" "I've stayed safe for 2 years, Mr. Upton. One more night won't kill me." But Henry was not sure anymore. By talking to Ella openly, he had changed everything. The watchers knew he was involved. They would move faster. He drove home in silence. Emma was asleep. He stood in her doorway, watching her breathe. She looked peaceful. He pictured Emma's smile, rarer than a Cubs World Series win before this year. This homeless kid had given it back to her, taught her she wasn't broken, made her laugh. No way in hell he'd let suits in fancy offices steal Ella away. Not without a fight, not without making them pay a price. He could not let them take Ella. At midnight, he called Victor Shaw, his personal attorney for 20 years. Shaw answered on the second ring. "Henry, it's late. What's wrong?" "I need advice. About a minor in danger." Shaw was silent. "Does this involve the Archimedes Foundation?" Henry's blood went cold. "How do you know that name?" 3 weeks ago they approached me, asked about you, your assets, your relationships, your vulnerabilities. I told them nothing, but Henry, if they're circling you, this is bigger than you realize. They have connections to defense contractors, intelligence agencies, people who don't appear on any chart. Can I fight them? Fight them? No. Negotiate? Maybe. But you need leverage, something they want more than they want the girl." Henry told him everything. Ella's story, her parents' deaths, the encryption breakthrough, the watchers, the offer. Shaw was quiet for a long time. "This is the most dangerous thing you've ever considered. You're talking about getting between intelligence assets and a national security priority. People have disappeared for less. So I do nothing? Let them take her? Do it smart. Don't be a hero. Be a negotiator. Find out what they really want. Make a deal that protects the girl without destroying yourself. And Henry, move fast. You're not the only one making plans tonight. Henry hung up. He sat in the dark, thinking. Morning felt too far away. Every hour Ella spent under that bridge was another hour someone could take her. The Foundation was watching. Foreign agents were watching. Contractors were watching. He thought about Emma, about the light that had returned to her eyes. Ella had given his daughter a gift no money could buy. Now Ella needed something in return. Protection, safety, a future that was hers to choose. He could not walk away. Not after seeing what Ella was, what she could be. Not after watching her teach his daughter with patience and kindness, despite having every reason to be bitter. He made his decision. He would call the Foundation at dawn, on his terms, with his conditions, with legal protections. He would offer them something they wanted, himself, his resources, his influence, in exchange for Ella's freedom. It was dangerous, probably foolish, but it was the only path that did not end with Ella disappearing. He reached for his phone to set an alarm. It rang first. Unknown number. His hand froze over the screen. He answered. The voice on the other end was not Stevens. It was colder, harder, foreign accent he could not place. "We beat you to the punch, Mr. Upton. The girl is already ours." The line went dead. The voice on the phone chilled Henry's blood. Foreign accent, cold as winter on Lake Michigan. "The girl is already ours." Henry didn't waste time responding. He grabbed his keys and ran, down the stairs, through the garage, into his car. He floored it toward the bridge, heart pounding like a Bears game in overtime. Traffic lights blurred past. He didn't care. If they had Ella, every second mattered. He called Neil Foster. "Get eyes on the bridge, now! I think someone just grabbed Ella." "On it!" Henry's phone rang again. Dr. Stevens this time. "Mr. Upton, we just intercepted chatter. A foreign team made a move on Ella tonight. We're en route, but you're closer. If you get there first, do not engage. These people are professionals." "How did they find her?" "Same way we did. She's been under surveillance for months. Multiple parties. We tried to warn you time was short." Henry hung up and pushed the accelerator harder. The Bentley screamed through empty streets. He hit the bridge access at 80 miles per hour. The cardboard shelter was empty. Flashcards scattered, chalk broken. But no Ella. No blood. No signs of struggle. Just emptiness. Then he heard voices. Under the far side of the bridge, two men speaking a language he didn't recognize, and a girl's voice, defiant, angry. "I told you I don't remember it. It's gone. You're too late." Ella. Henry moved toward the voices, stayed in shadows. He saw them through the concrete pillars. Two men in tactical gear. One held Ella's arm, the other held a tablet showing her equations, trying to make her solve them. "Your parents' work is not gone, it's in your head. You will give it to us, or we take the other girl, Emma Upton. Would you like that?" Ella's face went pale. "Leave her alone. Then cooperate." Henry's blood boiled. He pulled out his phone, called 911, whispered the location. Then he did something stupid. He stepped out of the shadows. "Let her go!" Both men spun. One reached for a weapon. The other grabbed Ella tighter. "Mr. Upton," the first man said, "this does not concern you. Walk away." "Not happening. Then you will die with her." Sirens wailed in the distance. The men heard them too. They exchanged glances. The first one cursed in his language. They released Ella and ran, vanished into the darkness like smoke. Ella collapsed. Henry caught her. "Are you okay?" "They knew about Emma. They threatened her." Her voice shook. "This is my fault. I brought danger to your family." "No, this is their fault, and we're ending it tonight." Police arrived, then Foster, then federal agents, and finally, Dr. Stevens with his silent colleagues. They swarmed the bridge, took statements, secured the area. Stevens pulled Henry aside. "This proves what we've been saying. Ella's not safe on the street. Multiple hostile actors want her. Tonight was close. Next time, she might not be lucky." "I know. Then let us protect her, please." Henry looked at Ella. She sat wrapped in a blanket, shaking. A federal agent was asking her questions. She looked so small, so young, so tired of running. He made his decision. Back home, Emma was awake, sitting at the kitchen table, crying. "Dad, I need to tell you something. About Ella." Henry's chest tightened. "What?" She's been teaching me things, not just math, codes. She made me memorize sequences. She said if anything happened to her, I needed to remember them. Show me. Emma pulled out a notebook. Inside were pages of numbers and symbols. Henry stared at them. He didn't understand advanced cryptography, but he knew this was significant, like a secret recipe for unbreakable spy codes, stuff that could lock down communications so tight nobody could crack them. Ever. She said if she disappears, these numbers matter. Smart people would know what to do with them. Henry felt ice in his veins. Ella had given Emma insurance, proof of what she knew, but she'd also made Emma a target. His phone rang. Stevens. Mr. Upton, we need to meet. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. This can't wait. I'm bringing my attorney. Fine, but every hour we delay, Ella's less safe. Tonight proved that. Others are moving. If we don't secure her soon, someone else will, and they won't offer scholarships. The call ended. Henry sat with Emma, held her. You did the right thing telling me, but from now on you don't go anywhere alone. Understand? She nodded. That night, Henry couldn't sleep. He sat in his study staring at Emma's notebook, at the codes Ella had hidden in homework, at the proof that this 14-year-old girl held knowledge worth killing for. He called Victor Shaw at 2 a.m. They talked for hours, built a strategy. It was risky, might fail, but it was the only play he had. At dawn, Henry drove to the bridge. He needed to tell Ella about the meeting, about his plan, about the protections he was putting in place. But when he arrived, the scene made his blood freeze. The cardboard shelter was torn apart, flashcards shredded, the blanket he'd given her was ripped to pieces. And in the center of the space, like a message, like a threat, like a goodbye, sat Ella's silver bracelet. She was gone. Henry picked up the bracelet. His hands shook. He pulled out his phone to call Foster. Then he saw it. Under the beam of his flashlight, the bracelet caught the light differently. He turned it, looked closer. The symbol wasn't just etched on the surface. It was etched inside, too, hidden, invisible unless you knew where to look. A formula, compact, complete. The encryption breakthrough Ella's parents had died for. The answer that made her the most valuable person in the world, and it had been on her wrist this whole time. Henry stared at it. This tiny piece of silver held the power to protect nations, or destroy them, to end wars, or start them. Footsteps echoed behind him, slow, deliberate. Multiple people. He turned. 3 figures stood in the shadows. He couldn't see their faces, but he recognized the stance, the patience, the certainty. One of them spoke, voice like honey over poison. Hello again, Mr. Upton. We've been waiting for you to find that. The 3 figures stepped into the light. Dr. Stevens, Director Wallace, and the old man who never spoke. Stevens held up his hands. Mr. Upton, we're not here to threaten you. We're here because we have Ella. She's safe. For now. Henry's fist clenched around the bracelet. Where is she? Federal holding. Protective custody. The foreign team that grabbed her tonight? We intercepted them 3 blocks from here. Ella's unharmed. But Mr. Upton, this proves our point. She can't survive on the street. Multiple hostile actors want her. Tonight was attempt number 3 this month. Wallace stepped forward. We need to move now. Meet us downtown in 2 hours. Bring your attorney. We're ending this tonight, one way or another. They left. Henry stood alone under the bridge, holding the bracelet. The formula etched inside glowed under his flashlight. This was what everyone wanted. This was what people had died for. He called Shaw. Get dressed. We're going to war. 2 hours later, Henry sat in a federal conference room. Shaw beside him. Stevens and Wallace across the table. 2 others Henry didn't recognize. And in a side room, visible through glass, Ella sat wrapped in a blanket. When she saw Henry, relief flooded her face. He nodded to her. She nodded back. Let's make this simple, Wallace said. Ella Davis is a national security asset. Multiple foreign powers want her. We can protect her. You cannot. She needs to enter our program. Tonight. Henry placed the bracelet on the table. Before we discuss that, let's discuss this. The formula, the complete solution. It's been on her wrist the whole time, and now I have it. Stevens's eyes widened. Wallace leaned forward. You're bluffing, Wallace said. Check it, inside the band, hidden engraving, the full encryption breakthrough. I'm guessing you've been trying to get Ella to write it down for months. Turns out she already did. Her parents encoded it before they died. Shaw pulled out his phone, took photos of the bracelet under magnification, sent them to an expert on retainer. 3 minutes later, the response came back. Shaw showed it to Henry, then to Wallace. "It's real," Wallace said quietly. "That's the actual solution." Henry leaned back. "So here's my offer. I keep the bracelet, I keep the formula, and Ella goes free. No foundation, no programs, no surveillance. She gets to be a normal kid." Stevens laughed. "You can't be serious. You're trying to blackmail the United States government?" "I'm negotiating. There's a difference. Even if we agreed, which we won't, others will keep hunting her. You can't protect her." "Then help me protect her, but on my terms." Shaw pulled out the contract they'd drafted. "Here's the proposal. The Foundation provides full support, housing, education, security, but Ella enters as an independent researcher. She maintains the right to refuse any project. She retains all IP rights. She has a legal guardian, Mr. Upton, who provides oversight. Every 3 years she can walk away, no strings." Stevens blinked like he'd been hit with a curveball from Shohei Ohtani. "A 14-year-old with veto power? That's nuts." "That's the deal. We don't operate that way." "Then change how you operate, because this is the only offer. Otherwise, I walk out with this bracelet, Ella disappears with me, and your encryption breakthrough vanishes. Good luck explaining that to your bosses." Wallace's jaw tightened. "You're playing a dangerous game. I'm protecting a child, and in exchange I'll join your board, Stevens. I'll invest $20 million in your program. I'll provide resources and connections, but only if these terms are ironclad." The room went silent. Stevens looked at Wallace. Wallace looked at the others. Some wordless communication passed between them. Finally, Stevens spoke. "These terms would need board approval." "Then get it. Tonight. Because if I walk out this door without a signed agreement, you never see this bracelet again." Wallace stood, made a phone call, spoke quietly for 10 minutes, came back. "We can work with this. If Mr. Upton joins the board and provides the oversight he's promising, we can make accommodations. It's unprecedented, but given the circumstances, we'll approve it." Shaw slid the contract across. Stevens read it, line by line, clause by clause. After 20 minutes, he looked up. "These are highly unusual terms, Mr. Upton. Then set a precedent." Stevens pulled out a pen. "We have a deal. Welcome to Archimedes." They signed. Multiple copies. Witnessed, legal, binding. Henry felt something release in his chest. Not perfect, but it was protection. It was choice. It was the best deal he could make. They brought Ella in. Henry explained the terms. She listened, hope building in her eyes. "So I can study what I want? And if I don't like it, I can leave? In 3 years, yes, 3. Until then, I'm your legal guardian. I'll make sure they keep their promises." Ella's eyes filled with tears. "Why would you do this for me?" "Because you gave my daughter something no one else could. Because you deserve a chance. Because you're 14, and you should get to be a kid." She nodded, then added her own condition. "I want to keep teaching Emma." Henry smiled. Already in the contract, Clause 14. Ella signed with shaking hands. Then she did something unexpected. She hugged Henry, wrapped her arms around him tight. "Thanks, Dad." She stopped, blushed. "I mean, Mr. Upton." Henry's throat tightened. He hugged her back. "Henry's fine." When they walked out of the building, dawn was breaking over Chicago. Emma was waiting in the car with security. When she saw Ella, she jumped out and ran. The 2 girls embraced, both crying. "I thought they took you forever," Emma said. "They tried. Your dad stopped them." Emma looked at her father. Something passed between them. Understanding, respect, love. "Thank you, Dad." Henry couldn't speak past the lump in his throat. They drove home together. Henry, Emma, Ella. 3 people bound by a moment under a bridge. The morning sun painted the city gold. For the first time in weeks, Henry felt like he could breathe. But as they merged onto the highway, he checked the rearview mirror. A black SUV followed 3 cars back. Same model he'd seen near the bridge before. Different plates, but the same deliberate distance. The fight wasn't over. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But at least now Ella had protection. She had choices. She had a chance. And Henry would make damn sure she kept them. 18 months later, Henry sat in the auditorium of an elite STEM academy. On stage, Ella presented her research to an audience of professors and industry leaders. At 15 now, her voice was confident. Her ideas were revolutionary. But more importantly, she was smiling. Emma sat beside him, taking notes. She wanted to be an educator now, someone who found lost kids and taught them they mattered. Her autism was no longer a barrier. It was simply part of who she was. She'd finished top of her class last semester, and twice a week, she tutored at the local Boys and Girls Club on the South Side, teaching kids who struggled with math, using the same methods Ella had taught her under that bridge. After the presentation, they met Ella outside. She wore jeans and a sweater, hair pulled back simply. The silver bracelet still circled her wrist, now accompanied by a small charm in the shape of an E. "Thank you," she said to Henry quietly. "Not for the scholarship, for protecting my choice." He smiled. "You always had the choice, Ella. I just made sure others respected it." Emma linked arms with Ella. "Dad, Ella got invited to work on something new, something big, but she wanted to ask you first." Henry raised an eyebrow. "Controversial?" "Very," Ella said, "but important, and I want to do it, on my terms." "Then do it. That's what the agreement protects." They walked across campus together, three people bound by a moment under a bridge. One act of teaching had rippled outward, touching lives and changing futures, not because of money or power, but because someone chose to see past the surface and protect what mattered. Share your thoughts below. Would you negotiate with the suits or grab the kid and run? What would you have done in Henry's position when powerful organizations came for a gifted child? Hit like if you believe kindness with backbone wins. Comment your answer. And subscribe for more stories where underdogs rewrite the rules. Next up, a hacker kid versus big tech, and the billionaire who had to choose sides. You won't want to miss it. Sometimes the right choice is not the easy one, but the one that respects everyone involved. Kindness, when paired with wisdom, can indeed change lives forever.